you already have characteristics for a Muslim. Oh, he is not like us. But what is he? That is the question. Zizek, this psychoanalyst, has given an example of a chocolate. The other is like a chocolate. That is, there's a particular chocolate. It's 5 rupees in the beginning. Then it stays 5 rupees, but this size will become this size, this size. Then it becomes 7 rupees, but the slice will increase slightly more. But it will not be the original size. Similarly, it will go on, go on. Finally, what will happen? We only have a wrapper. Inside, there is no chocolate. Muslims are right now put like that. You know what all should be described to describe a Muslim. Oh, he is this, he is that. But actually, if you look at him, you don't know what he is. So right now, in order to describe a Muslim, all the word that you have in Indian polity is that he is a terrorist, he is a jihadi. Now, if you look at him, he is like anyone else. Now, I look at Sherin, for example, and I look at her and say, yes, she is like any other working woman in India. But then Sherin writes articles, and she is a Muslim. So there has to be something about her. So they come up with articles like intellectual jihad. Yes, Sherin is involving in intellectual jihad because she is writing books, she is reading newspapers, so she is doing intellectual jihad. A Muslim boy falls in love with a non-Muslim girl. Oh, that is love jihad. Because he is a Muslim, then it has to be jihad. So it is in this jihadi culture that the entire Muslim community in India has been fixed into. And it is that otherization of the Muslims that we are fighting today. Along with joining our hands with all the other marginalized communities of India, the Dalits, the Adivasis, the Bahujans, the minorities. With this initial remarks, I will go to the proceedings of the session. Before that, I invite, there's a presentation of mementos. I invite our Vice President, Ravindranath, to present a memento to Dr. K. Satyanarayan. Next, I invite our Joint Secretary, Surya Chandra Bharat, to present a memento to Javed Alam, who has also been very instrumental in having this discussion here. Now I invite Mohan Dharawat. He is one of our senior members and also an advisory board. He will present the memento to our chief guest here today, Asaduddin Owaisi. Now I invite our cultural secretary, Isaac, to present a memento to Jahangir Saab. Now I invite our sports secretary, Sandeep, to present a memento to B.S. Sherin. Now I invite our treasurer, Rajesh, to present a memento to M.T. Ansari. Now I invite our president, Veeranna, president of the Dalit Adivasi Bahujan Minority Students Association, to speak.
Respected honors and good evening, friends. Today we are sitting over here for the cause of Ayodhya verdict. Beyond of Damsa, I am telling you that Damsa is an ideal. Damsa is a spirit. Damsa can discuss the justified cause. So, Damsa is for a justified cause. Wherever the marginalized people, they got any injustice, Damsa can fight for them. That is Damsa. So, moreover, what I am telling you is, Damsa always with students. Students will cooperate with Damsa. Then after, now situations here happening, the marginalized people, they are getting a great suppression. This is happening in throughout India. Our influence is not exempted from that. So that's why I am telling you, please against the suppression, and we are part of the society. We will be think what is happening in our neighbor. As a society member, as an educated student, we will be think like that. Thereafter, we will against the injustice. That is our Damsa motto. On behalf of Damsa, I am telling you like that. Thank you, one and all.
Yeah, firstly, I thank DBMSA for asking me to speak here. In fact, if you see the stage now, there are two important speakers today. I would have liked to sit there and listen to these two speakers because these two are important because they can play a role in solving this issue, long-standing issue. Because I remember as a student in the University of Hyderabad, that Mr. Salahuddin Owaisi was a key figure in this dispute. In fact, speaking for the secular forces and the Muslim minorities in this country, he played a very crucial role till the end of his life. And similarly, Javed has been writing and speaking and is a very important national left intellectual and who wrote about the Sachar committee and other kinds of issues. Both are at a very crucial position. Their words make a difference. So there are two important speakers. In fact, I came to listen to both of them because Javed has been a very important figure on secularism and has been writing on this, on democracy, defending democracy, and so on and so forth. But I don't know why DBMSA asked me and some of our friends here. So since we were asked, I just want to set the stage for the discussion and leave it to them. I'm sure you all came to listen to both of them. So I will not stand in the way. I'll just take a few minutes. As somebody, as like an ordinary citizen, I just want to share my anxieties when I watched this on TV and followed the discussion. One of the things that emerged in this entire discussion, in fact, the reams have been written. There's nothing more to say from people like us because people have been writing every day and extensively, kind of tons of paper has been wasted. With only one particular single kind of a view that they have been writing on this issue. That one of the things that happened in this discussion, both the media and the print media and the liberal intelligentsia and shades of other kinds of people, is to say that the judiciary is the institution. It is yet another holy institution that has delivered and started showing solutions to long-standing historical disputes. In fact, the judges have been interviewed and unprecedented because when a judgment is given, judges are not interviewed and specific judges have been quoted. And several scholars have written in EPW quoting only the Muslim judge, and several scholars, several media houses have interviewed them. So this is such a campaign. This is really scary campaign where you see that judiciary is something that stood up and it's trying to solve the problem. And it's really shocking. It's really shocking that there is such a praise for the judiciary about this judgment. So there is something more serious to it. And why? Why is so much praise for this judiciary? Because my experience with the judiciary is very, very different. In fact, I don't have any faith in judiciary in the sense that the kind of judgments that it has delivered, it is highly elite, upper caste. And if there is one institution in this country which has not changed from the colonial times to now, it is judiciary. You don't have reservations in judiciary. Dalits have been asking, OBCs have been asking, they are demanding time and down. They are not accountable, they are corrupt. And we have seen the Dinakaran case of Karnataka. And there is no transparency in their appointments, and they manipulate, they indulge in all kinds of scandals, but there is no way that we can contain this judiciary. And it is enormously, tremendously powerful. And it's like the Andhra Pradesh Greyhound police. If you give them the power to judge and decide our future and freedom, that is the end of this democracy. And this is what is worrying me very much, that well-meaning intellectuals, liberal people, they go on writing about it that there is a creative judgment that this court has delivered. They don't go into the details. They don't want to wait what the Muslim intellectuals are saying. They don't want to wait what the minorities are saying. They don't want to wait what the concerned marginalized people are saying. They go on saying that there is a reconciliation, there is a creative aspect to this judgment. It's very scary because if you look at just one example of all the massacres of Dalits from 60s to now, from Belchi, Kilwanmani to Karanchedu to Kailanchi. What is the history of judiciary? Judiciary time and again gave judgments by striking off these cases, by supporting the upper caste, supporting the police. It has never given a favorable judgments. And what is its own record on reservations? Consistently, several times, the Indian government has to go for amendments because they have given such judgments where even the constitution has to be amended. In fact, late Balagopal used to say that the power of the Supreme Court is such that even the very constitution has to be amended. If they give a judgment, even if it is a wrong judgment, it is not according to the letter of the law, what you have to do is that you have to amend this. And it happened in the case of SC/ST reservations. It happened in many other cases. Once they say, especially a Dharmasanam, a 9-member judge, 9-member bench decides something that this is illegal, then the only way is that the political leadership has to go for amendment. The case of classification of the SC reservations. That is the case. Supreme Court, 4-member bench has said classification cannot be done because SCs are a united people and we want to see them as united people. Even if there is injustice, we want to see them as united people. This is what the Supreme Court has said. The only way now, even though the Constitution doesn't say so, the only way is now to go back to the constitutional amendment. And such is the power of the interpretation of the courts. So given this situation, they have enormous powers. They can destroy this country, and you invest your faith so much in the Supreme Court and in the judiciary, and you praise this judgment. This is really, really a scary kind of a situation. And what is the judgment? And what is the commentary about it? I was watching, as all of you did, when it was on NDTV. What is the kind of debate on this judgment? This is kind of organized, planned kind of a debate where no alternative voices are allowed to speak. And it is for the first time, maybe we are having a debate with different kinds of people, voices here. The Chidambaram says, don't debate this. If you debate, there is going to be violence. Don't debate this. And NDTV was told, all the media houses were told not to debate this. What is to be debated? You debate that it's a good judgment. You debate that there is a reconciliation. Don't look at anything in the judgment. And impose restrictions. Don't send SMS.